What's going on, everybody? I've got Azar here with me on the hot seat. 100
Hell
Thieves,
yeah.
Azar. First question, Azar. What's the pronunciation? Is it 100 Thieves, 100 Thieves, 100 Thieves? How are you supposed to say it?
Fuck, dude. Actually,
Oh,
I
no.
know, I know. I've been told like how to say it, but I think it's 100 thieves. I'm pretty sure.
But with an A 100 Thieves or 100 Thieves?
I think it's 100 thieves.
Just 100. Okay,
Right?
100
Yeah.
Thieves.
I think maybe I'm fucking I apologize to everyone if I am, but
This,
I think
someone's
that's
clipping this, sending it right to Nate Shot. Social
yeah. I'm
media
gonna get
genius. You're going to find this in
um.
3 seconds.
Oh yeah, it's gonna hit me later for sure.
Yeah. Is he in the building with you? Where are you at?
Nah. We're in the compound right now. Some of the guys still practice here. I prefer to practice here, and mostly everyone here that works here is just there. Everyone's in quarantine, so everyone's just back at home. And obviously, Nate Shod, he's at home. He seems like a bit of a germ freak, so
He's a
he's full man
germaphobe?
cave.
Yeah.
I think he's full man cave right now. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's hilarious. Yeah, I remember he said he was convinced that he had it already. He had corona
yeah. I
already.
think he said something about him being sick and having the symptoms, but just didn't go to the doctor or anything. So
Yeah.
good thing he's not sick anymore. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, yeah. So you guys who's all in the compound right now? Is it like you and some players or like everyone or
So right now, me, Gomez, our manager, and Justin just got here 5 minutes ago, and I think Jacob's on his way too. So
Mm.
I think it'll be us four here today. It just depends if people want to come here or not, because we also have our own setups in our apartments.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, makes it pretty easy.
Nice, nice. What I had a question. What part of Australia are you from? I couldn't actually find this for some reason. Are you from
You couldn't
Perth?
find where it's from? No. I'm from Brisbane, bro.
Oh,
So
okay,
like
Brisbane,
the
yeah.
northeast side of Australia.
Did you have banter with Sponge since he was from Perth? Did you guys go back and forth about like East versus West Coast
I
Australia?
mean, not like really much east versus west, but we always like I think when me and Chad used to talk, we just play around with it as in like Perth is like they're just different people. They're just a lot more. I mean, in Australia, if someone's like very Australian, we'll call them a bogan. I think it's more so the
Yeah.
same like when you guys call like really Americans, like you call them rednecks. I think
Yeah.
sort of thing. So yeah, that's what we give shit to Chad all the time for that. Just like being a lot more Aussie because he's from the West Coast. So yeah,
I've
we call him a
actually see.
bogan.
It feels like it goes a lot one way because there's like way more people on the East Coast, and there's like just Perth. So
Oh
there's like
yeah,
Brisbane, Sydney, whatever,
yeah,
Melbourne.
exactly,
So
exactly.
they could
Because
just get
like yeah, there's
yeah,
like so in Australia, there's like obviously there's not much in the middle, and everyone's usually on the outside. So we got most people is from the East Coast, and then you've got the West Coast, like where obviously Perth is there, but it's still definitely not as many people as what you have on the East Coast. So they're just
yeah,
like we would like I said, we just give Chad shit and just be like, yeah, he's the Western type of person or whatever.
yeah. They just get dogpiled. I
Yeah,
actually so I
exactly.
watched a Vice documentary on Bogans. So I kind of like got to see what what they actually what they do. Like they are kind of like the American version of that, where they like
Yeah,
they'll go like mudding and stuff, and have like and so where are Bogans from? Like, can you explain what a Bogan?
I
Are they from
mean
like the middle of the country, from the middle of Australia, or?
it's hard to say because I mean you've got even I mean we call bogans even on the East Coast. Like it just depends how Australian you are, and if
Yeah,
you've really got that heavy Aussie accent, like "G'day, mate, how's it going?" or whatever you want to say, like
yeah.
that's I guess that's what we would call a bogan. So yeah,
Okay. Sorry, you're from not from Sydney. You're from Melbourne.
Brisbane,
Melbourne,
Brisbane, Brisbane,
Brisbane,
Brisbane.
Brisbane, Brisbane,
Yeah,
and it's Melbourne, right? Melbourne.
Melbourne. Yeah.
Does it grind your gears when people say Azur with a hard R?
I mean, honestly, don't really give a shit to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
Chad's obviously voiced in the past like he prefers if people call me Azza. Like it's pronounced Azza, and this it's obviously a nickname for Aaron.
Hmm.
So, but when you hear AZR or Azure or I don't know, it's like
Yeah.
I just have a little bit of laugh at it. It's nothing crazy. It's just a bit
Yeah.
of a laugh. Yeah, pretty much it.
What? It's a nickname for Aaron, but like, what's like? It's not with your last name, right? Like, why
No,
Aaron?
it's
How is
just
that a
like
nickname
I
for you?
guess it's just I think it's just an Aussie thing to be honest. I mean, there was so obviously I'm Aaron, so my nickname's Azza.
Hmm.
There was a guy that used to play in Counter Strike 1.6 in Australia. His name was Gareth, and he was Gaza. And it's just like a little playoff, I guess, at the start and ending your name. So I mean, I'm just trying to think of another comparison. I guess if
I'm
people like with a J, just maybe Jazza or something like that. So
Jazz,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
Lazar, Hazard,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly, yeah,
I
exactly,
I got
exactly.
that, yeah. We have, I have actually a story. I had a player that I played StarCraft, like, a long time ago, and when I was, like, 15 years old, I used to, like, log on, play StarCraft on US East, and there was a player whose name was Sickmade, SICMADE, and I thought he was the coolest guy in the whole chat room, and I always used to, like, watch him talk to people. I thought he was, like, super cool, so one day, I changed my name from Death Scythe, like Gundam Wing Death Scythe,
Yep.
to SICC, like sick, and with the same capitalization as him,
Yep.
and I didn't tell him I thought he was cool, and I didn't tell him where I got my name from, and I played him in a game 1v1 in StarCraft, and I lost, and then he called me, like, the bad F word, like the other
Oh,
F
really?
word. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and then I was heartbroken 'cause I changed my name 'cause I thought he was cool,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, then
And
we're
damn,
no
he
longer
hit you hard,
friends,
huh?
yeah, yeah, it hit me super hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my lashes early, when I was growing up on the
Okay.
internet, so that was rough.
Yeah.
Do you watch the, I need more Australian, I have some Australian questions here.
Yeah, go
Do
for
you
it.
watch the YBS Youngbloods?
I actually do.
You
I've
do?
actually
Yeah.
I recently only just started watching in the last, like, probably the last 4 or 5 months. I started
Okay,
watching their
yeah.
stuff on YouTube, and I love it, yeah. As a kid, I used to love going fishing with my dad.
Okay.
So, watching their YouTube videos, and obviously they're on the western side of Australia, and it's like, the beaches over there are absolutely gorgeous,
Yeah.
and they're just going out there and smashing the fishing, and they're that's what you call, like, true Aussie bogan, I guess you could say, with their accents and what they're
Yeah.
like, and but yeah, I'm loving their YouTube channel for sure.
Those guys are crazy. Did you take, like, some of the same risks solo diving with sharks in
Oh,
the
fuck
water?
that, dude. It's like some of those videos, man, where they're just like they look down and there's like 10 sharks coming after the fish they've caught or something. My hands are sweating just like watching it. Like I'd be shitting
Okay.
bricks, man. Like that's crazy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so not all Australian men are made of steel, is what you're saying.
Not like him, bro. Not
Not
like
like
him
him.
for sure. Yeah.
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 So for those who don't know, YBS Youngblood, shout out to them on YouTube. Basically, just like a couple of guys that they go fishing and solo diving, and they like catch crayfish and sea sharks and like chase
Yeah.
dolphins and like amazing stuff off the west. Apparently, they're from Perth. Is that right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they're like 2 hours north of Perth. They're on the west coast. Yeah.
Okay. From Texas, like her brother drives like a pickup truck, and they go fishing a lot. Like they actually kind of grew up the same way, so she
Yep.
loves that channel.
Yep.
Um, who was your favorite player growing up? Going back to, like, you talking about, was it
Ooh.
Gazer that you said?
Favorite player?
Yeah.
Oh, no, he wasn't he definitely wasn't a favorite player of mine. He was
Oh,
he was
okay.
he was a he was a top player in the Aussie scene back in the day, like, back in 1.6, but, I mean, growing up, when I started playing 1.6, my favorite player would have been Forrest.
Hmm.
I guess watching him in 1.6 hitting those, like, nice taps in the heads, and, I loved watching him play for sure.
Everyone who that's like a common answer because obviously he's had
Yeah.
so much fucking impact as a player,
Yeah. Yeah.
growing up for everyone. So does that mean that you played, like, 1.6 did you play 1.6 exclusively? Did you play any other games at the time?
So, um, back then I started in 1.6. No, I started in Source actually. I started in just playing like Scout Knives and Surf Maps back when I was like 15, 16 years old.
Hmm.
And then one day my computer just decided to die on me, and then I couldn't play Source anymore, and that's what moved me over to 1.6 because I just didn't have the
Oh,
greatest
hell yeah.
PC. And yeah, I just moved to 1.6 and started in that and played that for a couple of years.
And then did you play on any teams when you played in 1.6?
Yeah, so back then, I mean, in the Australian scene, it was like I'm not sure how it works in the States, but it was very state-sided back in 1.6, so you'd always have, like we'd have Queensland versus the New South Wales team, sort of like if you had
Mm,
California versus Washington or something like that. I'm
yeah. Like
I'm
CGS,
being
basically.
yeah, I guess so,
Yeah.
yeah. So, it was like a lot of teams back in the day in 1.6, but, um, when 1.6 started to die, like, in, like, 2010, I think I left to go to Source, but at then I only, like I think I sort of, like, made the top 8 teams in 1.6.
Mhm.
And then I sort of just left because, the game for me, it was starting to die and just wanted to go somewhere else.
The scene in Australia has never been obviously as big as, like, North America or some of the other major regions, And you
Yeah.
guys regionally are just or geographically are just so far away from everything. Like they're like a
Yeah.
13-hour flight from California. When you were
Yeah,
playing growing up,
exactly.
like I'm sure you got to the point where you were like at a pro level in your region, but did you ever feel like being in Australia was never going to be a really big thing for esports people? Like even in North America, when this thing starts to blow up, it was still such a niche thing for so long. As an Australian,
Yeah.
did that like kind of kind of like dogpile onto that feeling?
Yeah, I mean, back then is this just, like, towards 1.6 or even in CSGO?
In 1.6, yeah, like back then when
In
you were like
1.6 back then, I think the main goal was just, like, to be the best in Australia. I don't think we ever thought that, like for me personally, when I was playing 1.6, I never thought it would ever go to an international thing
mhm,
because, esports just wasn't as big in Australia like it was in, like, America and Europe, so, it was more so you'd focus on the national tournaments in Australia, and the best team in the country at the time would probably go overseas once or twice a year.
mhm.
So, it definitely wasn't a focus. It was more so just the focus of playing in the Australian tournaments, and that was about it.
You guys, also I know a lot of Australians go to, Asia a lot. So you can have you because your guys' flights are just cheap, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
where
we're pretty close to Australia, so, I mean, in terms of just going there, I know, like, a lot of Aussies go to, like, Bali, which is,
yeah.
like, very close, just go there and party. I
I
think it's,
think
like,
right
probably, like,
now,
$300 a
Bali
ticket
has
or something.
more I think Bali right now has more Australians than, Indonesians.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone over just goes there. It's like 50 cents a beer, so it's just cheap as chips and, just having fun and getting drunk and riding scooters and stuff like that, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Are you, you're Filipino? You half Filipino, full
Yeah.
Filipino?
Yeah, I'm half Filipino. So I'm half Filipino and half Australian. My dad's full Aussie and my mom's Filipino. Yeah.
And now you live in LA.
And now I live in LA.
And now you live
Yeah.
in LA. So do you like
Yeah.
Mexican food? There's
Oh,
like a lot
yeah,
of,
dude.
similarities there,
Definitely.
some Filipino
Definitely. I
food and
mean,
Mexican food, right?
yeah, definitely. I mean, the staple for us right now, or has been in like the last few years, obviously, I mean, it's a fast food place, but it's Chipotle for sure.
Oh my
We love that
gosh.
kind of stuff. But then when we
Yeah.
hit up like just other places for like tacos and stuff like that, yeah, we love the tacos and Mexican food for sure.
Have you, tried Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, when we first came to States, I don't think a lot of us were fans of it, just
Mhm.
because we didn't have much of it. But since we moved to LA, I think it's actually really grown on us. I know some of the guys eat it at least like 3 times a week right now,
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
yeah, some good shit.
Nate Shot loves Chick-fil-A, right? Like, I think
Yeah,
that's, like, his favorite food group. If that was a food
yeah, I
group,
think
it would be
so. Yeah,
Chick-fil-A.
he loves a bit of Chick-fil-A and a bit of Chipotle. Obviously,
Yeah,
we're sponsored by Chipotle too now, and, food's
yeah.
awesome.
So you feel comfortable, like, kinda being in LA, like, living in North America? It's just your life now, right? You happy
Yeah,
about it? Or
exactly, especially LA. I think it's pretty similar to where I'm from in Australia, just in terms of, like, the weather
mm,
and, yeah, just the weather in general because before we were living in Michigan, and that place is fucking cold, dude,
cold,
like, there's
yeah.
snow in the winter, and then, like, the winter is long too, so, to be in LA now, it's definitely a lot more comfortable from to what we were in before, for sure.
So that's Renegades, and you guys did you was it that you had you, like, lived in a casino or something? Was that
Oh,
the
yeah. Yeah. So
Could you explain?
the first iteration of Renegades, we moved over to Vegas, and they put us in a casino to begin with, and to begin with, we had penthouses, and it was actually pretty good. Like, it
Oh,
was
shit.
legit pretty good. We have like, a view of all of Vegas. We were in, like, a high penthouse. We had our own conference room in the hotel to practice in, which was really nice, but, I mean, the novelty wore off pretty quick. I mean, for us, coming to America and coming to Vegas, like, "Fuck yeah, Vegas is gonna be sick. We're gonna fucking live it up." Then after, like, 1 to 2 weeks when you're surrounded by drunk people and you're getting
Yeah,
people are smoking and stuff, and you just got gamblers, and novelty wears off pretty quick, so
yeah.
we got off that one pretty quick for sure.
What was the idea there that they wanted to show you that you could, like they could just go all out and that would be, like, funny to talk about? Is that why they're like, "This is gonna be the life of our players? We're
I
gonna put
think
a bunch
so.
of"
The fact that, they could make a lot of content around it. I mean, we got some like, stupid funny videos from while we are there, and, I think in general, it was probably a lot cheaper for them just going
Mhm.
through this way, like getting sponsored by the casino, and it just saved Renegades at the time a lot of money. So, um, yeah.
Is it an upgrade going from 100 Thieves to the Renegades? Or sorry, the other way around?
Um, I would say so, yeah. I mean, 100 Thieves, and like I think they're just a very established organization and have a lot of backing behind them uh in terms of just everything, to be honest. I don't want to put Renegades down at all, but 100 Thieves have given us all that we've wanted, and the family that we have here at 100 Thieves are great too, and everyone gets along. So yeah, everything's been great so far.
I've heard you say that before about 100 Thieves, like, giving you what you guys needed as a team.
Mhm.
What are some of those things that, like, does is it a difficulty of your old orgs or less established orgs to figure out what you guys need? Is it stuff that you realized that you always wanted once you got to 100 Thieves? Like, what's some stuff that 100 Thieves gives you that you feel
So
like you needed the
for
whole time?
example, I mean, when we first moved to America, I don't think we were so sold on living in Michigan. Um,
Mhm,
so we sort of wanted to move like to either Dallas or like the West Coast where we are now, and we obviously couldn't do that. So that was like one of the things. But there was just other smaller things like in terms of trying to get analysts, we couldn't get that, and then trying to get like analyst programs like Shadow GG. We
mhm.
always struggled to get stuff like that. So with 100 Thieves, it just hasn't been a struggle at all. It's like if we need it, like we just talk to our VP Jacob and he gets shit done. So yeah,
That's sweet. Yeah. What's your,
yeah.
you mentioned that you mentioned this HyperX interview a while back. I think when you were still on the Renegades, you said that they asked you what time you wake up, and you said you wake up, like, around 2 o'clock. Gamer life is what you said,
Oh
and
yeah,
play all day. I know the
yeah.
scrim schedules have changed a little bit for teams. Has your sleep schedule also changed?
I mean, so but here in LA, we wake up definitely early because the whole schedule changes 3 hours earlier. So I think in Detroit when we're playing from like 3 o'clock till 10 o'clock at night, whereas now our schedule is like 11 till 7. So
Mhm.
it's definitely a lot uh, earlier now, but also I guess healthier also compared to what it
Yeah.
was before. But
Do you yeah.
yeah.
Your scrim schedule, what can you tell us about, like, the teams in North America and the kind of practice that you get? Do you have, like, favorite scrim partners? And do you look for or avoid teams that you know that you're gonna be playing in some of your future scheduled matches?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess we just play everyone. It sort of depends. Like in the past, it's it's been hard to find North American practice just because it depends on like right now it's a lot easier because we're in quarantine, so all the teams are here. But when
Yeah.
there's like obviously when there's European tournaments and stuff like that, there could be like no tier one teams here, and then it makes practice a lot harder. Whereas in
Mhm.
terms of when you're in Europe, you can just play everyone,
Mm.
and that makes it a lot easier. In terms of having like practice partners, I don't think we really have anyone. We just sort of play everyone at the time. But when it comes to say if a team is in our group, then we will definitely avoid playing them so we can actually practice the stuff that we want to in the official games.
Mhm.
So right now, like pro league games, we're definitely going to be avoiding some of the teams that we have in our group for sure.
Mm. Yeah, you guys had some close pro league losses. Really,
Oh yeah,
like, basically all of those series, like, you're looking at 2-0 or 0-2,
yeah,
0-2, and 1-2, but, like, the closing map on all those games were within, like, 4 rounds.
yeah, yeah. We started
Uh,
off. Yeah, we started off pretty. Keep going. Sorry, I cut you off.
I was just gonna ask, like, what are your thoughts on just, like, I mean, first of all, when you look at those close losses, if you're watching the games, there's some sympathy to be had, but as a team and you just look at the results, it's just rough to look at losses as a whole.
Yeah.
Do you have does it have anything to do with the fact that it's online, or how do you look at those losses?
Um, so yeah, the way we started the tournament was pretty good. We won our first 2 games against Swole Patrol and EG, so we're actually looking pretty good. And then coming into our next 3 matches, it was pretty rough. Like
Mhm,
we played Liquid, we lost. We had 2 big leads in those games, and we lost. And then we played against MRBR. We had some close games. And then against Fura, we had a pretty big lead on the last map, and then they outplayed us towards the end. So um, it's definitely rough to lose that way in those rounds because then you look back at those games and you see the small things that make the biggest difference.
Mhm.
But obviously the teams play good and also with it being online, I think it's a lot more random.
Mhm.
Um, we haven't played online games in like 2 years also. So I don't know. I think us in general just have to have a better mindset leading into these online games because I think leading into it, we're sort of like, oh, it's online. It's gonna be whatever. It's random, but we just have to be more professional about it. To be honest.
Feel like everybody's kind of in the same boat type of
Yep.
thing, right? Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
especially at a time like this where like everyone's in quarantine, the coronavirus, and it changes people mindsets. Like people away from home and they want to be with their family or something like that. So it's all a bit of up in the air right now in terms of like mindsets and just being focused and stuff like that.
Are you, one of those people? When's the last time you've, been back to Australia? Was it Sydney?
Last time I was in Australia was over the Christmas break,
Oh,
so
okay.
it wasn't that long ago. But I think the main thing, right? I'm fine with being here in LA right now, and then the main thing for me is just to make sure that I'm communicating with my family, just like calling and stuff like that, and then I'll be fine. But I know other people in the team, they miss their girlfriends, they miss their family, and sort of sucks being away from them. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, there's yeah, this it's a really weird situation for everybody.
yeah.
You also have a twin sister, right? Is that right?
How
You have
did
a
you
twin
know that?
sister.
How'd you swindle that
Does
one
she
in?
play Counter-Strike?
No, she doesn't play Counter Strike. She we grew up playing like PlayStation and stuff together, so she played a few games when we were younger. But as time's gone on, she moved away from gaming, and I stuck with it. So she
Yeah.
definitely played when we were younger. Yeah,
Okay. And you played, like you used to play rugby? I think you said at one
yeah,
point? Yeah, and
yeah.
then what happened? Did you have, like, the device thing where you, like, broke your ankle and then quit badminton to be a pro player? Were you a rugby
I
player and you quit?
loved it when I was yeah, I loved rugby when I was growing up. I loved it like all the way through like when I was young to high school. And then, I don't know, I guess I just lost a little bit of passion for it. I had no injuries or anything like that, but, I mean, I just loved gaming also, and then that just took over. I mean, remember when I was younger, my dad would take me to my rugby games, and then we'd finish that, come back home, and then I'd be straight on the PC, like, playing RuneScape or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I just loved the gaming, and I think that's what just took over for sure. Like, I just lost the passion for playing rugby, and I just loved gaming so much more.
Did your dad play games? What's the, like, culturally, what's it like for kids to play games in Australia?
I mean, nowadays, I think it's pretty normal. I think it's
Okay.
just coming into it, but, when I was younger, like, if I played Xbox or something like that, my dad would hop on and play
Oh,
against me, like,
nice.
for example, if we played Halo, I'd 1v1 him in Halo and just give him shit or something like that, so,
Yeah.
he was pretty cool about gaming when I was younger, just having fun with it, so, um,
Yeah.
yeah.
You cross the point, though, when you wanna be a pro where you have to get obsessive and play, like, longer than you want to. You probably miss some family dinners. You
Oh,
probably
yeah.
neglected
Definitely, man.
homework at times. Like, when it got rough, what was it like?
Oh, I mean, when I was in high school and when I found Counter-Strike in, like I think I found it in the 11th grade, so I was pretty
Mhm,
much nearly finishing high school, which was probably the worst time for me to find Counter-Strike because I got so addicted to it.
mhm.
But I definitely my social life definitely disintegrated along with my schoolwork in between grade 11 and 12 of playing CS because I remember I used to just, like I do not recommend this to anyone else, but I was just, like, playing Counter-Strike. I'd play it till, like when I got home from school, I'd play it from, like, 5 till 10, and then I'd let my parents go to bed and let them think that I would go to bed, and then I'd
Yeah.
get straight back on the PC as soon as the lights turned off, and I'd play till, like, 3 AM and then go to bed and then wake up with 3 hours sleep, and it was terrible. I shouldn't have done that at all, but it definitely made my grades suffer for sure.
You hear that, kids? Don't get mechanical keyboards so that you can stay up extra late and, not
Yeah,
wake up your
they're
parents.
making those sounds.
Yeah, so what at what point did you make when did you make your first, like, bit of money when you
My
played? How
first
old
bit
were
of
you?
money?
Yeah.
I guess, like, just winning, just playing tournaments, it would've been I don't even know now.
When did you bring home, like, that giant novelty check to your parents? Like, $500 and a free mouse
Like,
pad.
winning, like, 2K on I think the first so I remember winning my first tournament online in Counter Strike Source, and that would've been in, like, 2009, 2010. I think we probably won, like, $2,000. So I
Mhm.
probably got a split of, like, 400 from it, and I was like
Hell yeah.
"Dinner's on me tonight, mom and dad," or something like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were I think they were at that point too, they were pretty not disappointed, but they probably wished I spent more time when I was, like, studying accounting and stuff like that, instead of, like, playing so much Counter Strike.
Mm.
But yeah.
Accounting, I thought you were gonna be a doctor.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, that's the Asian theory, right?
Yeah.
Every Asian kid has to be a doctor. But yeah.
So you're like, you like the numbers? You're a numbers guy?
Yeah, I growing up in school, I used to love math. I used to love all types of math. I always hated, like a classic Asian, like, I hated English. I hated English
Mhm.
classes, everything about it, but math was, like it was always fun to me, so yeah, I loved it.
Do do you, does that bleed over into the way that you see Counter-Strike where things are do you, like, lean on statistics a lot when you try to analyze performances, or do you look at try to look for different stats when learning about other teams?
Um, no, not really, to be honest. I try not to look into stats so much, just because there's a lot of variables in Counter Strike. A lot of stuff changes, in terms of like roles and stuff like that and whatever. So I don't really look in stats so much. Yeah, not really.
So in other games, like there's like in Dota, for example, they have like a calculator to show you what percentage chance a team has of winning like halfway through a game.
Yep.
Because the numbers go so deep in that game that you can actually, like provably show like this is the likelihood. But in Counter Strike, it doesn't feel like that's possible. Do you think that we have some ways to go with what stats we are showing people, or do you think the numbers are out there, or do you think ultimately a lot of the stuff in Counter Strike that makes you better or better than another team comes down to like the psychology or the aim or intangibles like
I mean,
that?
in terms of CS, I mean, it's been said before by so many people, but such a confidence game. If you're going out there and not having any confidence, you're just not going to hit some heads, you know. But I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think it's mostly confidence, but also you can find stats where, I mean, if if a team doesn't take a spot on a certain timing, that they're most likely going to go to the other side. So over time, that stuff is definitely um, helped in terms of analyzing Counter Strike. I mean, you go back 5 years ago, and it was a completely different game. Like in terms of like just taking map control and figuring stuff out and stats.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just evolving completely over time. Maybe in another 5 years, it'll completely change, and stats will be a huge thing. Like I don't know. It's hard to say.
How much do you think the game will change in the long term? Like from my perspective, when I've of all the games I've watched since 2013, I feel like the game changed so much in the first few years and has become more nuanced. Like very small things have changed in the last couple of years, I guess you
Yep.
could say. How much do you think it's going to change more? Like, do you see a lot of change on the horizon?
No, I think I completely agree with you. Like, it definitely changed a lot from like you said, from 2013 to like 2018. There would have been a huge difference in terms of aim to like strat wise, for example, and how to play the game. I think a lot of teams didn't know how to take like go back to 2016. I don't think teams, maybe the top 3 to 5 teams, knew how to take territory back if someone like took it away from them and or space on the map. And compared to now, it's like you've got the top like maybe 30 to 40 teams that can do that now. So obviously everything is just over time, everything the evolution of it just keeps changing. But I think I agree in the fact that in terms of CS now, um, little things only change. Where in terms of strats or it's just like constant little tweaks that need to change because everyone's on top of that kind of stuff. You have to it's just like little things that just need to keep changing, but it's hard to say what will happen in the future.
Are you in a situation where you would say because you guys have like never touched one, but you guys have been in top 5 pretty solidly for a bit, a couple of
Yeah.
times. Are you at the point where you're trying to figure out what it is that's keeping you from being consistent at that level, or are you looking for new things that you haven't tried yet to improve your team?
Um, I think it's definitely you're always trying to look for new stuff, especially when you hit a brick wall in terms of strats, in terms of if you need to change positions, there's a lot of things you can do. For us, I think it's more so a mindset thing when we're coming into games. I think it's more psychological. Um, Especially when we started this year, when we started at Blast London, we had a pretty rough time, and then heading into Katowice again, we also had to have time, and I think that was a huge mental block that we had. Oh, and a lack of confidence because compared to practice, we weren't going for the, like, confident plays, aggressive plays, and it's because we're putting so much pressure on ourselves, and we need to, like, for us in the future, we need to make sure that, like, that stuff just doesn't happen because it
Yeah.
happens with our team. Like, I think for us, we have a pretty quiet team. So when it comes to, like, breaking the barrier of, like, you're down, like, 4-0 in a game and you're letting it, like, sort of come in the back of your head, like, being negative and stuff like that, it just can't happen. And I think for us as a team, it's just completely mindset, and that's all it is because, like I said before, in practice, it's been completely different when we turn into official and it just doesn't go as well as we'd
Yeah.
hope, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
with quiet players, it's, like, nice because 'cause they're not, like, overly emotional, but then you also
Mhm.
know that they're just beating themselves down in their heads or getting mad about something
Exactly.
that do you ever have to
Exactly.
grab JKS's head and just say, "Tell me what you think, man, just say it."
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, Justin is a quiet person, and he does keep to himself, so, that's something that I've definitely struggled with Justin in the past where I just, "Justin, just tell me what you're thinking, bro, like, just spit it out," you know?
Yeah,
And over time, we've obviously had help from our mental coach, Edward, and he's definitely helped a lot with that. He's broken barriers within my relationship with Justin to try and make him to get more out of him or speak more and stuff like that. So, yeah.
is that Mind Body Medicine?
Yeah,
Or
that's
maybe
him. Yeah, yeah,
yeah?
yeah.
I heard he's taking you he helped me with my running for him. I had, like, a video call with
Oh,
him
really?
last week. I just called him on Discord because I was, like, getting shin splints, and he was saying that he's, gone running, with you guys a couple of times.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
guys
No,
go
he's
and,
doing
like,
a great
train
job.
you do, like, physical training with him, like, sometimes, or
Yeah, well, because it was a lot more like, in terms of physical stuff, we did it a lot more when we were in Michigan, but obviously now since we're in LA, he comes here, like, I guess he'd be coming here, like, once every 1 to 2 months, and obviously it's a lot harder now with the whole coronavirus crap, whatever, so, yeah, we definitely used to, like, go on, like, trails and go hiking and stuff with him before, and he'd definitely get us a lot more active, and definitely enjoyed that stuff with him.
that's good. Is that part of the plan, or is it just, like, you guys hanging out? Like, was it is it part of the overall performance kind of improvement curve that you need to just go out and do stuff together? Is it like a bonding thing or
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
I mean, there's stuff like, for example, I mean, you guys are probably gonna hate me, like, that I say stuff like this, but he'd get us in a room and we just, like, get, like, paper plates and we just clap them and look at each other just because we just, you wanna break barriers and have fun, and you don't wanna sit there and be embarrassed, so you just gotta do it, and you just have fun with each other, and that definitely improves the chemistry for sure.
Oh,
So, yeah,
wow, okay. Well, you
yeah.
guys have been together, like, for a while now. I mean, you guys are pretty much like a big core at this point.
Yep.
Like, how much awkwardness is there on the team when it comes to talking to each other? Or why do you need to
I don't
slam the
think there's
paper plates together in
Yeah,
2020?
I don't think there's much, like, awkwardness, but I mean, when stuff doesn't, like, happen in game, I think tension sort of builds up and maybe I think people have a tendency to, like, just not say stuff like I said before, like, Justin can be a quiet person and you always wanna try to get more out of him. So, we definitely can sometimes fall back on that all the time, like, going back into our shell, but we just need to make sure we come back out of that and just, like, communicate with each other. It's just like any relationship you've had, like, you just need to make sure the communication is open at all times.
Hmm.
You
I wanna start asking you some hard questions now because 'cause we're on the hot seat.
know? Hit me.
So, first question is, who's your funniest teammate?
Uh, oh, I've got some funny teammates in my team.
Yeah,
It
it's
would
funny
probably have to
teammates.
be it'd probably have to be Yod though, Jacob. He's
Okay.
hilarious. He's the thing about him too is like he has no filter and he just says whatever like comes out like what's in his head, and that's just makes him so much funnier. So definitely Yod, but Liaz is there. Liaz is like the biggest troll. Like you think he's like a quiet guy, but he's just a massive troll,
Yeah, he's super funny. He,
man.
was it tweeted, he tweeted a photo meme recently, about Cooper.
Oh yeah, the Johnny
Yeah,
Sins one.
the Johnny Sins and Cooper.
Yeah, that was actually funny.
You guys should check that out. That
He's
was
been
pretty
painting
good.
my house, been plumbing. He's just doing everything.
He
So
could do everything, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
that's funny. And man, Jacob is like he's like the base god. Like he reminds me of Lil B. Like he's always based. Like he'll just say he just speaks.
yeah,
And Does that I mean, I feel like he's, like, the least Norwegian person I've ever seen. Like, he is he I mean, he's become a honorary Australian, obviously, right? You guys have given him the
Yeah,
card, but
definitely.
now has he become even more Australian to the point that, like, every time I see him on your team, I mean, he's just Australian now. Like, I don't really see him as, like, an
Really?
import. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, it's hard to say, but he's definitely become one of us. I mean, just in general, we've known each other now for we played with each other for over 2 years now, I think, so, um, yeah, I don't really think about it at all, to be honest. He's just like he's just caught on with us, he's caught on with some of the Australian slang and some of the stuff, like, for example, when he first joined the team and if he asked me to, like, do something, if I wanted to go to the shops or something, and I'd be like, "Bro, I can't be fucked." And he'd be just like, "What is can't be fucked? What does this mean?" Like, and now you just hear him saying it, like, if he asked me to go to Chipotle if I asked him to go to Chipotle and he'd be like, "I can't be fucked." So he's just, like, all in on that stuff now, so he's caught on for sure.
Oh, that's pretty good. Um, you in this HLTV article, you actually said this, um, "We weren't playing with a lot of confidence, and our discipline in game wasn't the greatest, so we have to
Yep,
work on our discipline, individual confidence, and me
yep.
micromanaging people more." Can you expound on that a little bit? Like, what does not playing disciplined in game mean? Is that something as simple as peeking in the 4v1 situation, or
Mhm.
is it something else? And what does and micromanaging normally has negative connotations because you don't want to be hand holding people who are capable, but
Yep.
in what sense is that good or needed?
Yeah, so in terms of our discipline, it was more so the fact that we were pretty much just throwing away guns constantly on, like, our anti-ecos, so and then it would force us not be able to buy into a future round. So we were just searching for one guy constantly with, like, AKs and just throwing away 8K in the round. It was just stupid, and then we couldn't buy, and then it was just like a snowballing effect. So that was definitely something that we so just getting hungry after ecos pretty much is just,
Okay.
like, the main thing on discipline. Also the fact that in discipline, like, watching our own games, making sure we're on top of our mistakes, like, and being able to take criticism. So those were the 2 main things. In terms of sorry, what was the other part of it? Trying to
The other
remember
part
now.
was the micromanaging. So it said you micromanaging people more to say that like
Yep.
that's something you want to do more of.
Yep. So I always want, like, my in-game leading style, I guess I want people to always have the freedom that they wanna if they feeling confident and wanna go for the kill, then go nuts, go kill that motherfucker in the head.
Hmm.
Like, but when it came to the start of this year and we were lacking a lot of confidence, people didn't wanna go for those plays, and then we're just sitting stagnant on the map and doing nothing. So, it came to me, like, as if I had to tell people what to do, more so on an individual basis, like, "Okay, go here. Okay, go lower, pick together," sort of thing. Just little things like that because people weren't doing it and were, like, freezing up in game, but I think over time, in the last, like, 2 months, even at Katowice, it definitely got a lot better when people found themselves again.
Was it just the break? Because like everyone was weird after the break, especially with top teams. And then you get in your own heads after you like lose two best of threes at blast. Was that and then another break,
Yeah,
and you're like,
I definitely think so. I mean, coming into the first tournament and after the break, we were feeling pretty rusty heading into Blast. I mean, practice was going good, but when we're playing officials, it's a completely different story. And start off the year, we had 2 losses straight away. So, I think people were getting in their own heads. And then we got to Katowice, we lost again in the first round to G2 in probably the worst fashion possible.
mhm.
Everything went wrong for us in terms of gameplay, decisions, just throwing utility just wasn't there either. It was just really, really bad. So, we had our talk as a team, and we got our first win the next day against Tyloo, and I think that completely changed everything.
Mm. So you got to kind of get to find out that you're back to the way you expect to be, if you play that match. And I was wondering with your team, to keep it real, like, when I look at your roster and I look at you guys in tournaments, I see a super solid team that can be top 5 at any moment, and
Yep.
then expect good results at every tournament. I don't expect you to win the tournament most of the time because of the other teams that are at the tournaments. When you
Yep.
guys come into these tournaments, do you find out how good you are while you're at the tournament, or what do you think is holding you back from actually closing out these tournaments when you're even when you're in the top 5, when you are top 5 contenders?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said before, I think it comes back to mindset. And it's I think for us, it's a huge psychological thing because it's, like, so niche to say, like, when we're communicating and stuff like that, it's a completely different ball game compared to when we're losing and, like, the atmosphere is dead, and, you're sitting there trying to, like, hype people up, but people can't get, like, that negativity sorta out of their head, and they can't shake it off, and that's something that we have to keep working on because I believe for us as a team, we definitely haven't hit our peak yet because I think we still have more to show,
Mhm.
but still a mindset thing, and we have to keep improving on that, and like I said before, discipline is a huge thing for us, making sure that people are watching their own mistakes and fixing it, and yeah.
Who are you studying to like, who's your favorite team that's not 100 Thieves? When you guys are trying to figure out, like, what you can improve upon or how to make something better on a certain map, who are the
Mhm.
teams that you normally look to be like, "This is a
Um,
playstyle that fits me or
I
us?"
think, like, for example, like, when we're trying to fix our teamwork, I mean, it's always a go-to for, like, watching Astralis. I mean, they've usually had the best teamwork in the, like, last 2 years, so, they're always great to watch. They're always, like you always learn something when you watch their demos, so, um but in terms of, like, finding, like, small little moves or little gimmicky things, like, uh, in just like that, little moves and gimmick things, I think I like watching G2.
Mm.
They seem to be bringing a lot of that stuff. I think they're a team that when you watch them, you'll learn a lot of small things. If you're watching someone that plays on your squad or just like moves from them, they have like some new stuff all the time, and I really enjoy watching them. So especially Hunter from that team, he's a really good player.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, yeah, and his cousin's pretty good too. It's like
yeah. I don't know
it's
his cousin,
actually
but that
kinda
Hunter guy is fucking
the
top notch,
Hunter
dude.
guy, though. Yeah, he's man, how much, like, when you look at Hunter, he's, like, such a really well-rounded player, and from all aspects, just really good, but his aim is also
Yeah,
exceptional, right?
yeah,
And it feels like at the top level, like, if you look at a team like Astralis, in some ways, I see a bit of them in you, where there's never, a single player who I think is holding you down to the point where on a loss, it's like this guy over and over again is the issue. If you look at your graphs and some of your recent performances and stuff, no one's playing at their absolute peak right now, but a lot of people are just kind of inconsistent at different times. How
yeah.
much would you say that that is due to uh, discipline or practice, or how much is that due to just aim alone? Like, how important is aim for your team to be consistent?
I think for us, definitely. For our hard hitters like Yod, Jacob, and Jay also. I mean, when their aim is on point, I mean those guys are nuts.
Hmm.
Especially when Yod's running in an entry and his aim's on point, like the guy's unstoppable. So aim wise, it's definitely important. I mean, even for every other team in this certain time when all the teams are so close to each other, you got to be on point. So aim is definitely very important. But yeah, we definitely have to find out our weaknesses to be more consistent for sure. And I
Hmm.
think like I'm bringing back like what I said before, it's mindset is the main thing for us.
Well, yeah, let me repurpose that a little bit. So, how much would you say that the aim is adding to your inconsistency as a team versus other things,
Um,
if at all? Not even loaded, just asking. Like, how much would you
yeah,
say?
I don't think it's a huge thing to be honest. I don't think aim is an inconsistency for us. I think it's like I said, more so mindset. Yeah,
Mindset, discipline, stuff like that.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Um, yeah. So, you guys now moving forward, what do you have coming up? There's like a lot of stuff is being changed around, obviously.
Yeah, so it's all changing to online. So obviously we have Road to Rio coming up.
Mhm.
So we have those online matches, and then I think there's also like DreamHack coming up also. Um, I actually don't know what else there is to be honest, because we've
There's some
been so
masters thing.
focused on the Road to Rio. I think that's the main thing for us right now. So we've been
Mhm.
focusing on that and practicing every day and putting in the hours.
Is the secret to winning online matches making sure you have omakase every once in a while?
Omakase, you mean sushi?
Yeah.
Man, I love the omakase, but it's been a while, but that could definitely be getting some good food in before you play, bro. It's always
Yeah.
you can't go wrong. So yeah.
Yeah. There's a Sushi Zo, I think, in LA.
Hmm.
Where have you had omakase? I saw a picture with you eating it, but I don't remember
Yeah,
where I saw it.
I had it with my girlfriend like 2 months ago, some maybe a month ago for our like we just hit our 2 year mark, so we
Mhm.
went there. I can't remember what the place was called, but it was some good sushi for sure.
Okay. There's a place
Yeah.
like, in Japan in Little Japan, in LA.
Yep.
It's called Sushi Zo, and
Okay.
their head chef knows Counter-Strike, so,
Oh, for real?
yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
gotta hit up that place then.
I went there with my mom when I lived in LA a couple years ago, and then there was a guy who was sitting beside me who was, like, Danish randomly, and
Oh,
you
for
know how
real?
it is, like, in omakase, you sit in front of a chef, and then you talk, and you're supposed to
Yep.
ask questions, and it's very, like, communal and stuff, and the guy
Yeah.
beside me was, like, talking to me, and then we started talking about Counter-Strike, and then the chef was like, "Yo, I used to play 1.6." I was like, "Oh my god." Yeah, so go
Man,
there, he'll probably recognize you.
sushi and Counter-Strike, bro. You can't go wrong
Yes.
with that
You
combination,
can't
right?
go wrong. But what
Yeah.
is the secret to winning online matches? Like, you guys, like, you know what you can do, and in a sense, even though worse teams get better online, you guys also have, like, a point of comfort in being on your, like, your setup exactly as you want it.
Yeah.
So how can you win? How can you, like, make sure you're always, like, on point? What's the biggest difference for your team on LAN versus online? Like, how do you do that?
Um,
How do you win the online matches?
fuck. I mean, it's
You
hard
answer
to
this
say because
question, you're gonna figure out the rest of this year, man.
it's hard to say, man, because it's online matches. I mean, I think for us, because we came into the coming into ESL Pro League a couple weeks ago, I think we had the mindset of, like, being like, "Oh, it's online games, it's whatever. Um,
Mhm,
we'll see how it goes," and I think we underprepared for that quite a bit, so heading into these next games, we need to be locked and loaded, need to be a lot
mhm,
more prepared um, and take it as serious as we would take these online games. I mean, LAN games, sorry.
mhm,
And yeah, I mean, for us also to be more comfortable online, everything just needs to be a little bit more consistent in terms of. So we usually play our official matches here at the compound, but when we're practicing, it's usually at the apartment. So it's like
mhm,
small things like coming to the compound to practice all the time now instead of being at the apartment, just to make those little things more consistent that you can make yourself comfortable because everyone right now like is playing in their homes and stuff like that. So and they're
mm.
comfortable. So just making sure that we're obviously more comfortable. So
Yeah, is that part of it, like, like, I was watching Simple stream a couple weeks ago, and he ended up, like, getting flashed and then looking at his teammate's PC when he was streaming because if he just had that, like, LAN reflex to look at his
yep,
teammate's PC,
yep.
is that something you rely on too, or just that you're used to having
I
for LAN
mean,
is just
yeah,
being able to just look at your teammates?
yeah, definitely, because since I'm sitting in the middle usually between my teammates, I'm always looking at someone else's screen, like, all the time. If I'm rotating too, I like to watch my teammate's screen so I can see what's going on. So that's definitely a comfort thing, I guess, but,
Mhm.
it's not massive. I don't think it's massive, though. Like, practice is always, like, usually you're not looking at someone else's screen, so yeah.
Yeah. And is it Counter-Strike 24/7, or do you get time to squeeze in some Valorant?
Oh, man, we squeezed in some Valorant this last week and a half,
Yeah.
we, I think, yeah, when the game came out before the game came out, I had my negatives about the game for sure, like, seeing little Twitter clips, like, seeing wall hack and stuff like that, I was just, like, thinking, like, "What is this gonna be? This is gonna be a joke," but
Yeah.
after playing it for the last week, I definitely enjoyed playing Valorant. It's such, like, a chill game too that you can just play with friends, and, I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's like and it's definitely, like, different from CS in terms of, like, I mean, there's all these abilities and stuff like that. It's, like, refreshing, and the
Mhm.
last, like, week or so, we played a lot because we played 100 Thieves tournament the other day too with Nadeshot,
Mhm.
and, so we're playing quite a bit, so it was definitely a lot of fun, but now we have to cut down on the Valorant and start focusing on CS more again.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously meant to feel a little bit like Counter-Strike Volcano getting
Yeah.
involved. It's got some, like, it feels a little bit like 1.6 with the bounciness and some of the
The
peaking and
movement
stuff.
too, right? The
The
movement
movement
feels like
too.
1.6, like,
Yeah,
a
like,
lot
even
more
the
than.
b-hopping somehow, it's like you can b-hop, but it's not broken in some weird way. Like,
Yeah,
you can't actually use it to that much of an advantage, but it still feels great, like, for whatever reason. So
yeah.
some cool stuff about it. I wanted to ask you just about that, to compare it to Counter-Strike. It feels like when I play Valorant, it's easier to hit shots. Do you get that feeling too?
Yeah, I feel like in Valorant too, if you're tapping, I feel like if you just tap heads, like
Yeah.
you and aiming in general, just like in Valorant seems a lot easier than CS. I
Yeah.
think the skill cap in Valorant will be a lot lower than CS in general, just because
Yeah.
it feels a lot easier. I'm not sure why, but
Yeah,
that's just
same.
it's just the way it is. It feels a lot easier to aim in the game and to get kills.
I hope it's not because registration's off in Counter-Strike or something. I couldn't figure it out. I was like, "Why does Counter-Strike feel harder than this?" Like, I don't feel good
Yeah.
about this one tap in Valorant.
Yeah,
Um,
I think also the models, the way that they move around, they're a lot
yeah,
slower, I think in compared to CS:GO, so I think that
yeah,
makes it like when someone's coming around a corner, there's like no peekers advantage and stuff like that, so a
mhm,
lot easier just to kill someone. I think you have the advantage in Valorant when you're just holding a line compared to in CS when you have that peekers advantage coming around the wide peeking around the corner or something like that, so
mhm.
yeah.
You ever play anything like, Osu or other games that you could actually people warm
Yeah.
up in to play CS?
I mean, I played Osu like a long time ago, like this was like 2012, probably like ages ago, just for fun. It wasn't in terms of like warming up for Counter Strike or anything. It was more so just like listening to music and chilling
Music, yeah.
with friends. So yeah, yeah.
You
But
ever played, Step Step Revolution?
nah,
It's like the one
never
you
heard of
it's
that.
like Osu with a keyboard. You just it's
Oh
like,
really?
yeah, it's like DDR with just your arrow keys or whatever.
Yep, yep. Nah, I haven't
Anyways,
played that one, but I think I've seen it before. Yeah,
all kinds of degenerate anime music games that you can play online that are super
yeah,
fun,
yeah.
that are great. Okay, well, man, that was really cool to talk to you. I don't know that we have any questions. Who's the best player in the world?
I mean, it's got to be simple, right?
Who's your answer? Who's the best player in the world that people are not talking about?
That aren't talking about.
Yeah.
Who I think's like really underrated.
Here's the thing, right? When you're playing and you play
Yeah,
against a player, you feel it way more than when you're watching a game with X-ray on. Who
yeah.
is like that nuts player that people aren't talking about? Who's the guy that when he peeks you and you see that name tag for a glimpse,
And
you know you're not winning the duel?
I think Device is very annoying to play against. Like Device
Okay.
is like everyone says Device, obviously, but he's so annoying to play against. Like the way he peeks corners, like for example on Inferno, he like crouch peeks like around a corner like top banana, and you see half his body. And if you
Mhm.
don't headshot him instantly, then he's gonna kill you every single time.
Mm.
And it's honestly so annoying because you see that little like that little knee of his come out, and then he just shoots you with the orb, and you just it's so frustrating to play against.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, he has super tight peaks.
yeah.
So what would you say about so on that, what would you say about the argument that he gets to like he has inflated stats because his team is so good on average? You think that's true, or do you think that he'd shine as an individual
I
on
mean,
a less good roster?
I think obviously his team helps him. Astralis are a great team, but I still think Device in general is a really good player. He's definitely a smart player, makes good decisions, and he's just very annoying to play against. So I think he's definitely a good player for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
there's definitely other people that I think are better individually, um, but I still think he's an awesome player for sure. Yeah,
still up there. Yeah.
one of
Who's
the
your
goats.
who's your who's your favorite CS:GO player as a pro player to watch? If you could only watch one player's demos for the rest of time for yourself to improve, who would it be?
Fuck. Um,
And
it
it can be
depends.
any of
Like,
your teammates too, in case they're watching. I just want them to know that he's not
I
gonna
mean, it
pick you guys,
depends. Like
maybe.
sometimes I'll watch like me when I'm watching other demos. Like if I'm watching Astralis, it'll be like to see how Glaive calls and stuff like that. But in terms of just like individually watching, I think lately been watching Hunter quite a bit.
Oh,
I think,
really?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I think he's a really good player. Yeah,
Hmm. Is it
he I love like his little moves and like stuff that he makes, like angles he takes, and just I like the aggression that he has. Like for example, um, on Window Mirage, me and him have a similar play style of getting in the window and causing chaos, and like watching that where he takes that to other maps also. So
oh,
yeah.
that's cool. Maybe he's watching your demos too. That'd be
I
wicked.
don't know.
That's wicked,
Uh,
man. All right, cool. That's all I got, dude. I appreciate that. That was awesome to hear you talk about like some of your history too, because I feel like we don't get that side of you
yeah,
in
definitely.
other interviews. So yeah, I appreciate it. You got a freaking wicked setup to hear with the Cash App
Oh
compound,
yeah, man, this
the
place is balling,
lighting,
bro.
practice room.
This place is balling.
Soak it up. I think you're in a pretty good spot. We're all a
Yeah.
little bit more fortunate than some others in this
Oh
situation.
yeah,
So
definitely,
yeah,
man, definitely. Yeah.
it's pretty good times. Well, thank you so much for joining me, man. I appreciate
No, my
you
pleasure,
being
bro.
here.
It was a lot of
Okay.
fun. Yeah.
All right, dude. Hopefully we can do this again sometime.
All right, man.
All right.
Gotcha.
Take care.